All right. Hi, everybody. This is Linda Addario. Welcome to Bodyworks at Home. I wanted to introduce you to Gail Witte, who is a yoga practitioner, and she is at the Bodyworks, practicing at the Bodyworks Community Room. So, Gail, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to chat. And so let's get started. First of all, tell me about what classes you're doing.
Currently, while we're on lockdown.
On lockdown first. Yeah, tell us what you're doing right now.
I'm teaching aerobics a couple times a week, as well as yoga once a week. And then I'm going to start a class called somatic artistry, which is like kind of in the family of yoga and bar and Pilates, but it's more of an exploration of movement and how the movement and thoughtfulness or mindfulness come together and settle into the body.
Interesting. Do you need a lot of space to be able to do that? Or is it something?
No, it's probably mat width, or maybe like
a yoga mat width.
A yoga mat width, or if you just kind of spread your body out in an X, that's probably how much space you need.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you don't need to.
Pretty low space.
Okay. All right. And is that all on through your Facebook page?
I'm streaming it on my personal Facebook page, and we'll stream it on the Bodyworks, or post it on Bodyworks at Home.
Okay.
Yep. And I've gotten into the rhythm of reminding everyone that once this is all cleared away, we should meet again live and in person in the community center room.
Yes. Now, I know beforehand we were doing Mondays. Are you thinking you might go back to Monday mornings at 9:30?
I look forward to the 9:45.
9:45. Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
It's so
I always set myself 15 minutes early so I can be there on a timely fashion.
That's good. No, it's funny, just that you mentioning that time of day reminds me that that time of day was in complete coordination with when my kids were going to school. And now I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, I really look forward to going back to Mondays at 9:45 or whatever time ends up working best in our new world.
In the new world. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, tell me, I'm kind of curious, and I'm sure other people are curious. Tell me about your education and your background a little bit. Tell me and how you learned about all this yoga, and I know you do the yoga therapy. So we got a lot to talk about. Go. I'll stop talking.
No, it's okay. So back in 2007, or actually earlier 2005, I started working at a senior fitness center for senior citizens, and I just started racking up certifications. It was group fitness, and it was personal training, and young at heart. I got certified in that, and then someone said, "Hey, you should go to this yoga class with me. It's at this community center." And I took the class, and I was like, "Hey, I know I should get certified in this too. It'd be great for my resume, right?" And this is where you insert "little did she know." Oh, it's one of those things that changes your life. And at that time, actually, I was on pretty constant anxiety. I would say I was anxious like all the time.
Really?
Yes. And I think something just caught my brain and said, this can help with that. And I didn't put that together quite literally until many years later. But whatever that something was that caught my brain and said, you could feel better if you do some of these practices. And it just kept me pulling me back. So I did get certified in 2007. That was my very first certification. And at that time, my teacher was Judy Smith. She was very much like, "Oh, you don't need to be a Yoga Alliance member. It's fine. And it was fine. I didn't need that to get teaching jobs or anything. But
Now, was that like a 200-hour, that first training?
Yes. That was my first training. It was 200 hours. Washington, D.C. at a gym called Fit Physique.
Okay.
And I don't think it exists anymore, which is crazy. But anyway, it was wonderful training. And years later, fast forward to 2010, we moved to Iowa. And then 5 years after that, we end up here. in county, or and I started to research yoga teachers and yoga studios, and just wanted to see the bios and who was teaching what and this and that. And all the bios kept saying, getting 300 hours with Lauren Tulin and this with Lauren Tulin. And everybody seemed to be working with Lauren Tulin. And so I thought, okay, I will check out this person. And I'm glad I did, because I ended up doing my 300-hour certification. And I brought along my piece of paper. So here's my 300-hour, which I did.
Nice. Yoga Vidya.
Yoga Vidya.
What does that mean?
Correct knowledge.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so after that training, I realized how much knowledge Lauren possesses and what a great teacher she is. So I went back and I redid my 200-hour. So
really?
I redid it in 2018.
God bless you. How was it the second time around? How did that feel?
It was beautiful. And, it was great because as I mentioned, when I was in my 20s, I was a very anxious person, had a lot of walls up. And and part of that was also not being able to take information in. I had a really hard time letting things pass through this, like my physical cellular wall of knowledge and feelings and emotions. But when I did my 200-hour the second time, I started to remember things that I was taught in that first 200 hours that didn't quite stick or land.
Right.
It drove home to me why this is such a lifestyle process and a learning trajectory of a marathon and not a fast race. It was great. And then I felt like, okay, I had wanted to be a dance therapist in college. So I studied dance at the University of Maryland. And then I just didn't go forward with the dance therapy. And then I saw an ad for yoga therapy on the Yoga International website, and it was kind of like seeing that ad was like giving my train ticket to the conductor, getting on the train, and then I'm just taken. Things just started propelling forward. And now here we are, and it started in August, and now it's April, and it's been amazing.
Really? So dance therapy and yoga therapy. I'm trying to, why would someone, I guess I'm thinking, why would somebody do dance therapy? And why would somebody do yoga therapy, and how are they similar?
Sure. So dance therapy is about using the body as the therapist to read the client.
Right.
For instance, some of it might seem quite obvious. If someone's like slumped forward and sad, they can know that the person is sad. If they're exuberant, if their eyes are bright and wide. And so on the therapist end, the movement informs the therapist about the client and maybe things that the client doesn't even know. And that's very similar in yoga therapy. We think about posture, how tall someone's sitting, if they're slumped over. So that is similar. In dance therapy, now I never studied dance therapy, so this is kind of like me riffing a little bit.
Sure.
But using movement for healing, maybe like I said in my 20s, maybe for that part of my life, the therapy would have been something about letting people in or learning to connect, and that might be like connecting my hands to the board that's underneath me and really feeling the space underneath my hands instead of just kind of like sitting here mindlessly thinking about problems that I have. Connecting to my space, connecting to the time of day, things like that. Or in children, if there's coordination problems,
right,
crossing the midline. And actually, one of the things that really stuck with me all these years later from college was the correlation between being able to cross midline with your hands and reading and crossing that midline, right? And a lot of Laban movement analysis, which is, again, coming back to that, like, is this scary mommy? Like, am my hands on fists? Am I confused? Am I like loving with my arms extended? So the body, if you just start to tune in to how people move you will see so much more about their personalities than they probably want you to know.
No,
Like,
no. Well, I'm thinking, from a body worker's perspective, I'm thinking, do people have emotional releases,
yeah,
and do
yeah.
emotions come up as they do certain movements? I know in yoga classes, I have, been doing, like a vinyasa flow, and suddenly I feel like, oh, what is this emotion that's coming through? And just kind of, going with the flow, if you
Yeah.
will, the emotional flow and the physical flow. And I
Yes,
didn't know
100%.
if that happens, and if that's kind of yoga therapy or.
Yes, and actually, one of the first practice that I did in my 300-hour certification, which I was in my 300-hour and I was on my mat, and then it all ended, and all of a sudden I felt really upset and like fragile and emotional, and I brought that up in our discussion after the practice, and my team basically said, yeah, you want to leave it on the mat, like that is the time to work through the emotion. And so the practices that we do in yoga therapy are meant to calm down the nervous system so we can bring up emotions that are weighing you down negatively, and then help you to get them out, express them
Right.
skillfully.
Let it go. Yeah.
Not just like ranting and raving. We want to be calm. I mean, I through this program, I've learned so much about the importance of a calm nervous system. And, during these times, for sure, I've noticed in myself the serious ups and downs of of my nervous system, and the beauty of being at this level of where I am in my own personal practice, and then as becoming a therapist, is that I can say, I have to leave the room, and I go upstairs and I will lie down in crocodile pose, or I'll do a little bit of moving meditation, or maybe some yoga nidra, which is yogic sleep. And I am able to bring myself down. Now, am I still having a couple cocktails? I am. Like, it's okay. Right. I don't want to go overboard, but like it's it's not the thing that I need to calm down. And if that's where anyone is, that's not judgment. It's just I've been in that place. And now I'm thankfully in a place where I can say, I can go upstairs and do some of these breath practices that I've learned over these years. And then if I choose that, if I say, okay, it's because I'm like happy, or I'm like calmer, and I can enjoy it. It's not, I'm not using it as a medication, thankfully. And if anyone's going through that, this is absolutely not a judgment. It's just, well, the benefits of yoga therapy is that maybe that separation can happen.
Okay. Can I segue? I mean, I'm just thinking that this might be a good segue into maybe if there's some tips that you can offer right now, like for people that people are home with their kids, and they're home with their significant others, and, perhaps they're not getting income, or perhaps their income is reduced, and it's very stressful. And I know I've seen on social media that meme where it says, 2021 AA meetings, and it's literally a stadium full of people. Anyway, what you were sharing was just, and I'm thinking maybe you have some tips for, people that are home, to calm themselves down and refocus.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a couple. My number one, which this was advice given to me by a girlfriend who has 6 children. And I was at a place in my life where I was like pondering one more. I have 2. And I thought maybe one more. And I said, well, how do you handle 6? And she goes, reduce your expectations. Like, just bring those down. First of all, let's lower the bar, like 1 inch above the ground, like real low during this time. We need to put our mental health at the top of our totem pole of priorities, right? The second is, if you need to take a break, put the kids in front of the TV and go upstairs or downstairs, find a closet, hide in the bathtub. Somewhere that's yours, that's comforting.
On the toilet.
On the toilet, there you go.
You don't actually have to be going to the toilet, but hey, you know.
That's right. If it's possible, maybe leave your phone in the other room. Mm-hmm. Unless you're thinking you can do some guided meditations. And my favorite app, and now of course, okay, no, I got it. My favorite meditation app is called the Insight Timer. Mm-hmm. And they have, you can use it for free, and then they have the paid subscription where you get more content. Mm-hmm. But I've enjoyed many of their meditations, and I've used their timer because they have these nice intro bells and exit bells if you can set a certain time.
Nice, nice. And that's called Insight Timer?
Insight Timer.
Okay.
And then at the end of your meditation, it shows you who in your area has been meditating, and you can say, thanks for meditating with me. And it kind of this really cute community
sweet
sense of community. So, and of course, if you want a more personalized practice, I'm available for for consultation to help guide in a more personal practice. And then for breath work.
Now, can people contact you now?
People can contact me now.
And will you do remote sessions?
Yes, I've been quite successful in working with clients over Zoom or Facebook chat, and so I'm pretty open to trying all kinds of apps. So somebody's like, I use Duo. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I can use Duo, sure. But yeah, I'm available, and I can carve out time, and my kids go on the tablets for these moments. That's why it's so quiet right now, because they have their headphones on with their tablet.
Yay. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, greater good.
I know. And I allow myself. That took a couple weeks to get to be like, it's okay. Just let them go. They're like playing lovely little games, and
right.
So we're all in a good spot. And then for breath, you just want to slow down and take diaphragmatic breath. Diaphragmatic breathing. So you big belly breath. So as you inhale, your abdomen extends, and as you exhale, it relaxes down. So if you notice that when you're inhaling, your belly button comes back in, that's called reverse breathing. So one way that you can do that is maybe take a bean bag, something like a lightly heavier book or something, place it on your abdomen as you lie down, and inhale and watch the book or whatever you have lift and lower on inhalation and exhalation. And that helps that it's always good to breathe. That's and that visual will give you something for your brain to focus on, which will give it a break from whatever was stressing it out. So those are some top tips.
Nice.
I think are pretty accessible. But yeah, just lower those expectations, find a place to hide, take the minutes that you need. And actually, what's great is that I have found it really doesn't take too long once I've committed to like calming down.
Yes.
And I walk over piles of whatever I think needs to be picked up, and I go and I sit down and know that they're going to be okay, and I'll come back and pick up whatever for 15, 20 minutes. That's for me. Maybe it's 5-10 minutes for someone else. Like it starts to happen quicker and quicker each time I sit. So.
Nice. Let's see. You know, we have been talking about something called Siva. And I don't know if are you willing to share a little bit about that?
Yes. Yeah, that's one of my favorite topics, and I've been using it for myself lately. And Siva is translated as selfless service. And it's always good to do for others. And in this context, it's also nourishing for the self. So as I do for others, I am nourishing myself. And lately, I have really been thinking that, paralleling that with people's relationships with the people they're stuck in quarantine with, because I hope everyone is having a good relationship. But the fact of the matter is probably there might be someone in your house where there's conflict.
Right.
And Siva is a nice way to say, I'm going to do for this person who I've been in conflict with in order to nourish our relationship, which will in turn nourish me. So that might be ironing some shirts without being asked, or, you know, picking up some of your kids' toys, even though you've asked them 15 times to do it themselves, but say, you know, I'm doing this because I love you and I don't want to keep pressuring you to do whatever. Or noticing when it's time that they just need a hug and say, I'm going to put something down and hug them. So things like that. And then for yourself, you know, going back to taking some time and sitting down, clearing your space, like clearing your space, doing that selfless service for yourself will then give you a chance, you know, cleaning, I mean, like tidying up and sweeping and just making your space nice so that you can sit, calm down, and then you've benefited the whole family because
Right.
your nervous system is now more relaxed. So it is kind of a domino effect. And Siva is just a great way to get started. And it takes a little bit of letting go of ego sometimes, especially if you're coming into it like, I want to be friends with my husband again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, who's gonna, you know, have the last word? Well, it might just be you. And you go do the thing that you think might soften the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see what happens from there. I mean, it's not like a 100% fix, but
Right. Well, sometimes, you know, I find relationships are a dance, you
yeah.
know, and sometimes we get into, you know, a rut with the dance steps.
Mm-hmm.
And if we, the only thing that we really can change is ourselves. You
Yes.
know, if we change the steps and maybe doing one, you said, Siva, selfless act,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to benefit someone else, or just to benefit, you know, the community we exist in, you know, whether it's a business community or, you know, our in our homes or in of the community at large. But it changes the interaction, it changes the energy, has to shift, you know,
Yeah.
because, you know, the other person is used to you, if you're doing the two-step all the time and you'd start to do a kickball change, whoa.
Right? It'll throw them off.
Right. And,
Hires, you know, more goodwill that will just kind of start
mhm,
bouncing back and forth. And I
mhm,
can share, that was kind of how my marriage progressed. I've been married for 14 years, and in the
mhm.
beginning, we were
Yay.
very, yeah, it's I do sometimes feel like it's a miracle. Um, we very much loved each other, but we were very immature in
Mhm,
how to interact with each other, and there was a lot of defending. And one of the greatest things in my yoga therapy program that my teacher said was, you can't bond if you're defending. Like, if you're always here, you can't bond. There's like friction going on, right? And so we
right.
were defending a lot, and it took a long time and several missteps to realize that actually we'd rather bond. And then slowly, we started getting to a place, and I couldn't be more grateful that right now in this time, we were able to do that work earlier on.
Mhm.
Um, but it's like I did iron shirts today without being asked, even though usually I'm like, can you just remind me? I forget. And I remembered today, and he was really appreciative. And yesterday he went out, and I was desperate for eggs because we didn't have eggs, and I was like trying to do the kids and this and that. And his almost response was like, oh, I don't really want to go out. But then he went and he got me eggs, and it was like the nicest thing. It's
Nice,
like
nice.
helped the day, you know?
Mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
those small things.
Sometimes it's the little things, that you're just like, oh, wow, he
Yeah.
remembered that I needed and wanted those.
Yeah.
you know?
And it was easy. I think that's the other thing about it is like keeping it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't have to be conditions or a guilt trip or I did this, so you have to do this. It's like, that's what Siva is. You
Right.
do it and you feel satisfied. You need nothing in return.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can, maybe hope, but it's best, I'd say, if in this context, focus on you do it, you let it sit and marinate, and you see what happens.
Mm-hmm. 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 So, from what you're saying, when you do a Siva act, it's more you're doing it and just letting go of what happens. You're just
Yeah,
doing it, like
right.
if you're ironing the shirts, you just iron the shirts. You're not hoping that gee, I hope that this person notices that I ironed their shirts and they do whatever,
Yeah,
because most of us are not mind readers,
exactly.
you
That's
know.
the thing. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, you know what's going on in your minds. And maybe you can like read your kids' minds if they have a mischievous face on or something. But for adults, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, we're a little more complicated.
Yeah, who knows? So,
Yeah,
you know, we have a
yeah.
phrase in
Okay.
our,
Pardon?
I said we have a phrase in the yoga teacher world, which is, or in maybe the yoga world in general, which is, trust the inner teacher. So, just trust that everything's fine unless someone says it's not.
Yeah, yeah. I think, and I hate to bring it back to men and women, but I think, we women, at least I know I overthink things. You
Oh, me
know,
too.
I'm always like, analysis paralysis, and I'm trying to figure out, and especially when it comes to men, at least in my relationship, I have found that far more simple than
I
can I
know, I
make
know.
it.
I am in your boat on 100%. So,
Anyway, is there anything else you want to share? Anything, that you want to say, do?
I thought I would give just like a quick definition of what yoga therapy is.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
gonna read it
Oh,
because
okay.
it's more articulate than me.
All right. So yoga therapy. This is
So
what
this is from
it
the
is.
International Association of Yoga Therapists.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that yoga therapy is the process of empowering individuals to progress toward improved health and well-being through the application of the techniques and practices of yoga. So using yoga practices, as I talk about, the breathing, the Siva, it's so much more than just poses. But if somebody is emotionally distressed, whatever has happened, psycho-emotionally, or it could be physical, they got their knees injured, so we have to therapize the knee through asana or poses, as we say.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what yoga therapy is, using the practices and techniques of yoga, including but not limited to poses and mat work,
Mm-hmm.
to get to a place of healing.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, as you say that, that sounds amazing, because it's one of the things that drew me initially to yoga was its therapeutic application. Coming from the PT background, and that kind of thing was the therapeutic. But one of the things in my path that I learned is, and I guess I'm curious where this kind of fits in. Yoga is, most people see yoga just as a movement,
Mm-hmm.
practice. It's like the asana, if you will, as opposed to a lifestyle, so I guess I'm thinking about like where in I guess yoga therapy would be its own entity versus because there's many branches of yoga and many different
Yes. So I
whereas
would
the
say that yoga,
actual postures is just a small part of what yoga really is.
Yes, and you're right. There are a lot of different forms of yoga. I mean, I practice hatha yoga, which means sun and moon, yoking, union, bringing the body and breath into a union. There's bhakti yoga, which is the yoga of devotion and love. There's jnana yoga, which is the yoga of knowledge. So there's many different paths to practicing, and basically what it all comes down to is we want to focus our mind and live a happy life, right? That is the goal of yoga, is to be able to focus the mind. And so maybe someone who likes to study would go down the path of the knowledge of yoga, the yoga of knowledge. Someone is more maternal and they want to take care of people, they might choose the path of bhakti yoga, the yoga of love. I like this hatha yoga that I'm doing, which is bringing together the body and breath. That's what I've been drawn to. And so there are more, and there's other different ways of practices, but the goal of yoga is always to lead a good, happy life with good health. And by going through these practices, the breathing, the physical postures, the meditation, and a lot of other creative approaches to working out whatever's holding us back, that's yoga therapy. It's kind of learning the person, understanding what the complaint or problem is, and finding the best paths in the yoga world to help bring them back to better health, better happiness, things like that.
Through whatever's bothering someone. Yeah. Okay.
And in my experience, you start with something very superficial on the surface, and you end up realizing how that path even got started in the first place, which is far deeper than we probably want to understand at the beginning. But that's why it's a process. We don't need to build, what do they say, build Rome in a day or something, or
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Rome wasn't built in a day. Thank you.
It's all good. It's all good. All right. So I guess we should wrap this up.
Sounds good.
All right. And anything else? We'll get to see you in your let's see, yoga through Facebook.
And I put up a schedule on my personal page, and if I can email that to you, and you can post it if you like. I can always add people on my Facebook page. It is my personal Facebook page because technology, I don't know, I couldn't get it to work on my Yo-Yo page.
So good. It's all good. It's all good.
Yes. So tomorrow and Thursday, there's not classes. I realized last week trying to do 5 classes of my own and get them to do schoolwork and take care of the house was a bit much. So I did aerobics yesterday, yoga today. I'm taking 2 days off, and then I got Friday aerobics.
Okay.
And Sunday is somatic artistry. And what else? They're usually at 1:00, and they're about a half an hour, so it's not too much of a time commitment.
Okay. Maybe I can. I'm going to put together. I'm right now not as we speak, but one of my jobs today is to put together a newsletter to get out to clients. Should I? I'm just thinking I can mention it and kind of point them to your personal Facebook page or Bodyworks at Home.
But either or. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you want to include my email in there, if anyone wants to reach out, if you're in need of someone to talk to, we can set something up.
Okay.
I think for the time being, if someone's in need, there will be, it'll be by donation. And then, once life resumes, maybe I'll get my business back on track. I will be a definite.
I think we're all in that same situation.
Yeah,
We're all like waiting, hoping for the middle of March or middle of May,
yeah.
and if it's not the middle of May, we have to kind of, flow with that as well. So,
It'll be all, it'll keep moving along.
it will, it will, it will. So, all right, then I will share your information, and thank you for taking the
You're
time.
welcome. Thank
And
you for having me.